Stories teach us about life. They highlight our strengths. They illuminate our weaknesses. One such story is The Golden Goose. This fable has been passed down for generations. Its message remains relevant. Greed can have dire consequences. We often hear the phrase, "Don't be greedy," but what does that truly mean? The Golden Goose provides a clear answer. It's a story about the dangers of wanting too much. It's a reminder that true wealth lies in appreciation, not accumulation. Once upon a time, a farmer lived a simple life. He resided in a quaint rustic farmhouse, surrounded by fields that stretched as far as the eye could see. Every day he toiled from dawn till dusk, tending to his crops and caring for his animals. He worked hard but struggled to make ends meet. Despite his relentless efforts, the yield from his farm was barely enough to sustain him. The farmer often found himself exhausted and worried about the future. One day, he discovered something extraordinary. While checking on his flock of geese, he noticed something glimmering in the nest of his favorite goose. A goose in his flock laid a golden egg. The farmer could hardly believe his eyes. He carefully picked up the egg, feeling its weight and marveling at its golden sheen.
I couldn't believe my eyes. A golden egg! This could change everything. The farmer's heart raced with excitement and hope.
The farmer was astonished. He had never seen anything like it before. He knew that this golden egg was incredibly valuable. He sold the egg for a small fortune. With the money he received, he was able to pay off his debts and buy better equipment for his farm. Day after day, the goose continued to lay a golden egg. The farmer's life transformed. He became wealthy. Each morning he would eagerly check the nest, and each morning he would find another golden egg. He built a grand house. With his newfound wealth, he constructed a magnificent mansion, far grander than his old farmhouse. He had everything he ever desired. The farmer's life was now filled with luxury and comfort. He no longer had to worry about the future, as the golden eggs provided him with endless prosperity. The farmer was grateful to the goose that had brought such fortune into his life. He made sure to take extra care of the goose, ensuring it was well fed and comfortable. With his wealth, the farmer also decided to help his community. He shared his fortune with his neighbors, improving their lives as well. The once struggling farmer had become a beacon of hope and generosity in his village. Reflecting on his journey, the farmer realized that the true treasure was not just the golden eggs, but the happiness and prosperity he could bring to others. His life had changed in ways he had never imagined, all thanks to the miraculous goose. Despite his newfound wealth, the farmer couldn't shake a nagging thought. He had everything he could ever want, yet something was missing. The golden eggs had brought him immense fortune, but now he wondered if there was more to be had. The thought gnawed at him day and night, leaving him restless and uneasy. What if there were more golden eggs inside the goose? This question haunted him. He imagined the possibilities, the endless wealth that could be his if only he could get to those eggs. The idea took root in his mind, growing stronger with each passing day. He became consumed by this desire. It was all he could think about. The once simple farmer was now obsessed with the idea of having it all. He spent hours staring at the goose, lost in thought, imagining the riches that lay inside. He wanted all the riches at once. The thought of waiting for the goose to lay more eggs was unbearable. He needed to have everything now, immediately. His patience wore thin, and his greed grew stronger. His heart, once filled with gratitude, now overflowed with greed. The joy and contentment he once felt were replaced by an insatiable hunger for more. He no longer appreciated the wealth he had. He only saw what he didn't have.
What if there are more golden eggs inside? The question echoed in his mind, driving him to the brink of madness. He could see the golden eggs in his dreams, feel their weight in his hands. The desire to possess them all consumed him. I must have them all. This thought became his mantra. He repeated it to himself over and over, convincing himself that he deserved all the wealth the goose could provide. His determination grew stronger and his resolve hardened.
He convinced himself that killing the goose was the only way to obtain all the eggs. In his twisted logic, it seemed like the perfect solution. He believed that by ending the goose's life, he could finally have everything he ever wanted. He ignored the obvious truth. The reality that the goose was the source of his fortune was lost on him. He was blinded by his greed, unable to see the consequences of his actions. The goose, alive and well, was the source of his fortune. But in his quest for more, he failed to see the value of what he already had. The true wealth lay not in the golden eggs, but in the living, breathing goose that produced them. Blinded by his greed, the farmer killed the goose that laid the golden eggs. He had grown impatient, no longer content with the steady stream of wealth the goose provided. He wanted it all, and he wanted it now. With a heart full of anticipation and eyes gleaming with greed, he eagerly cut it open, expecting to find a treasure trove of golden eggs inside. He imagined the riches that would pour out, the life of luxury that awaited him. But to his horror, there were none. The goose was just like any other, its insides devoid of the golden promise he had envisioned. The realization hit him like a ton of bricks. He had destroyed the very source of his wealth.
"No! What have I done? There are no golden eggs here!" His voice echoed in the empty barn, filled with regret and despair. The farmer's dreams of instant riches had turned into a nightmare of his own making.
His greed had cost him dearly. He had destroyed the source of his wealth, the one thing that had brought him prosperity. Now he was left with nothing but a lifeless goose and a heart full of regret. The farmer's fate serves as a stark reminder. Greed leads to destruction. It blinds us to the value of what we already have and drives us to make choices that ultimately harm us. When we prioritize immediate gratification over long-term prosperity, we risk losing everything. The story of the farmer and the goose is a timeless lesson in the dangers of greed. It teaches us to appreciate what we have and to be patient, for true wealth is built over time, not seized in a moment of reckless desire.
The lessons from the Golden Goose apply to our lives today. Think about a school setting. Imagine a student who cheats to get good grades. They might succeed in the short term, but what happens when they face a real challenge?
Their lack of genuine knowledge will be exposed. They've sacrificed true learning for the illusion of success. Like the farmer, they've chosen a shortcut and destroyed their path to genuine achievement.
Section 6. Greed in our time's work. Now consider a workplace scenario. Imagine a company prioritizing profits over everything else. They cut corners on safety. They exploit their employees. They might enjoy short-term gains. However, this approach is unsustainable. Employee morale plummets. Product quality suffers. Eventually, customers lose trust. The company, driven by greed, faces a downfall of its own making.
Check 1, check 2, check.
Section 7. Greed in our time's relationships. Greed can also poison our personal relationships. When we constantly seek to take more than we give, we create an imbalance. Imagine a friend who always asks for favors but never returns them. Over time, this one-sided dynamic breeds resentment. True friendship requires reciprocity. Greed, in this context, leads to the breakdown of trust and connection. Section 8. Choosing contentment. The story of the Golden Goose offers a powerful alternative to greed contentment. Contentment doesn't mean settling for mediocrity. It means appreciating what we have while striving for more. Contentment allows us to enjoy the journey. It frees us from the relentless pursuit of more. It opens our eyes to the abundance already present in our lives. Section 9. The path to true wealth. True wealth isn't measured solely in material possessions. It's found in meaningful relationships, a sense of purpose, and a grateful heart. When we shift our focus from wanting to appreciating, we unlock a deeper sense of fulfillment. Let's learn from the farmer's mistake. Let's choose contentment over greed. Let's cultivate gratitude for the gifts in our lives. The path to true wealth lies in appreciating the goose, not killing it for a fleeting illusion of riches.